Welcome to Concept Hunter. Today we're going to talk about Last Legacy Null Space, which is kind of a bombastic name, and I was actually kind of scared to take a look at this game because it falls into the stereotype of these games that are very, very, very ambitious and usually just do not deliver. Luckily, this one has a very strong core, and I believe that there's a really great game hiding behind a couple of errors that we will talk about. So let's take a look at Last Legacy Null Space. Click to continue here. And I have to mention, the first thing that I have to mention that I really like is, it's very minute detail, but I just want to mention it. Version 2004, 096, okay? It just tells you the date in terms of the version. I don't think I've ever seen it before, but it's a nice little way of saying it instead of saying 1.001 for the whatever. It's really stupid, but I liked it, so I probably will steal it at some point in the future. Just wanted to mention it. Let's go into the story and start a new file here. I'm gonna give my hero name, and we can start our adventure in the magnificent world. Yes, one day our hero was battling the forces of evil. Okay, but after what seemed like a victory, the monster summoned a wormhole. Our hero could not escape its grasp, and yeah, we're flung into different dimensions, and we try to get back through wormholes, and we're gonna ignore the story for the most part and focus on the mechanics. This is a very big game. There's a lot to talk about, so we'll probably go overboard in terms of the time for the video. But let's just go into it and ignore a little bit of all the things that we see here. There's an inventory, there's equipment, we'll see that. The one thing that I do want to mention that there's play and play hard mode. For what I can tell, hard mode, I might be wrong, but for what I can tell, hard mode basically means that things have more HP, and turning things into bullet sponges, even though, you know, here it's fantasy, so you fight them with the sword, but still, bullet sponges is the concept of just having more HP. That's not a way of making something more difficult in most cases, and I don't feel that it really works. I don't feel that there's a need for this thing even to exist. Have the game the way that you want it to be, and that's it. That's the game. Because there's really no need to mess with anything in addition to that in a hard mode. In this case, the game has enough on its own. So let's just get started immediately. There's a ton of UI. And one thing that a lot of games do very well is not show you things that you have no use for yet. Not show you things that you have no use for yet. Right now it's kind of cluttered. I don't know what MP is, or what this thing is, or what these things are, or I can understand that this is currency, but you can only show things when there's a reason to show them. Okay, a lot of the games where there's a lot of stuff happening do this because they introduce you to the mechanics one by one, and that's just a little bit of something that you can steal from bigger games, and it's pure polish. And we like polish, and I feel that this game, one of the biggest things that it needs is more polish. So, just a little quip. Alright, move with the WASD. Okay, we collect this currency, and jump with W. This is my first and probably biggest problem with this game, jumping. And the reason for it is how the camera works. When you jump around, the camera, in a way, follows you and tries to keep you at the same vertical space, okay? And it's done so rather poorly. It leads to being very disorienting, and it takes away control from me. I don't feel that I have proper control over the character when I jump around, and as this is a platformer, you spend a lot of time in the air jumping. You have a double jump as well. It's a platformer. You need to have proper camera controls for when you're jumping, and I feel that it doesn't work here. It's disorienting, and you know, it feels blurry. And the way to fix this is kind of simple. Go look at other platformers. There's a cajillion of them. You don't need me to spell it out for you with names. Just look at other platformers that do similar things and have a double jump, and see how the camera behaves over there, and copy paste. Okay, in a way, you need to find the balance for it to be smooth and not disorienting for the player. That's pretty much it. So with P, you can actually change the controls. You can change the controls in a web game, and this just feels more and more less and less like a web game, and more like an actual proper game, and that's really, really cool. And this will later lead me on to say, and I will say it at the end of the video, with a little bit more polish and a little bit more content, I would be willing to pay money for such an experience. just saying for things to come. So let's move on to the next segment of this level. And we get to see this. This is a checkpoint, saves your current progress in the level. So we have a whole level and we have segments within it which are divided by these screens. Now, these checkpoints, as far as I can tell, are only at the start of each screen. So in a way, there's no need for them because you could just, when you die, you start at the beginning of your current screen. So there's no need to even tell me that there's such a thing as a checkpoint. With that said, I feel that there aren't enough checkpoints in the game because there are places where you lose and you just start all the way at the beginning of the screen. The better way to do this is to have several, 1, 2, 3 challenges and then a checkpoint. 1, 2, 3 challenges and then a checkpoint. That's how it's usually done. And what you can do if you really want hard mode is just take away that checkpoint system. Have that checkpoint system in standard play, and in hard mode, the only thing you can change is have every screen be on itself without any checkpoint. So if you die, you start at the beginning of the screen. That's a good way of doing hard mode because it means that you have to commit more so to a single level, and some people really dig that and enjoy that in the sense of a challenge. So that's something that I feel a bit strong about. I don't know why it says space because space doesn't do anything, but double jump. You have a double jump. And now we're introduced to our first attack, let's call it, and these first enemies, which are just stupid little crabs. Holding S, which is down, and pressing gives us a kick. It flings them off very nicely, which is really, really fun. You could also jump on them, which I discovered by accident. Oop, I actually pressed some stuff. Sorry. All right. So you can fling them around, which is kind of cool. And it feels good to fling them around. And now I'll just move along forward. There are things that disappear. I don't know really what it means in terms of the world, but things exist. And here, this is our first, a treasure chest. To open it, stand in front of it and click with the mouse. So I'm just going to click on it, and I'm getting a basic scimitar, a basic slashable weapon. The double basic there's no need for the double basic there, but that's okay. And now I can actually go into, this ghost is jumping on me. I can go into my inventory screen, and this is instant. Okay, I just press the E button. It tells me that later, but I can just press it and immediately see my inventory, do whatever I need to do, and go back into the game. This is great. It feels like an RPG. And this inventory screen, I'm only going to show you the very basic of equipping my scimitar, but I'll tell you that in terms of stats, of comparing things later on in the shop and in the upgrader, which could have been called a smith or something, but whatever, the shop and the upgrader, it all works very well. It shows me my stats, it allows me to compare between things, show me what happens when I upgrade something. You can equip things very comfortably. It works very well, and that's not trivial and very important for such a game. So I'm really happy with the equipment system. And I feel that you could have more than just left-click weapon, right-click weapon, and accessories, but that's really up to you. In terms of the right-click weapon, you could just equip anything you want, and it's a different weapon, but there are some weapons, which I'm not going to show you because I won't be getting them now, but other weapons have ranged attacks that take away mana points, MP, and then mana points regenerates pretty quickly. You can't infinitely shoot ranged attacks, but you might as well have infinite range attacks. So I'd say the MP regeneration should be a little bit slower because I could just shoot forever and not really care. Okay, just shoot forever, wait a little bit, shoot forever, wait a little bit. So you need to find a little bit of a different way of handling mana points because there's no drawback to that. Now, I want to talk about dying in this game. And I'm actually going to, this is a tutorial that tells you to equip the scimitar, which I've already done. These are hearts. It's a pickup in the game, and I have 2 HP. I'm going to pick it up. I'll have 3 HP. And now I'm actually going to die, and we're going to see what happens. When I previously killed enemies, I got currency. Note that that's the only thing that happened when I killed enemies. I got currency. Nothing else happened. And I have 34 right now. I'll click, and it goes back to 29. Alright, it goes back to 29, but I can actually pick up anything I want. Ooh, silver ring, I also found another thing. Everything is back here, including this chest, which I have to open in order to progress. But all of the pickups, everything is there, and you can actually replay levels. And you can actually go back. Wow, I'm just getting a ton of items. You can actually go back through the levels, and you could always pick up everything that you've missed. This means that essentially I have infinite currency. And because I could always go back to other levels and just keep on going and playing it again and getting more currency. And enemies don't give me experience points to level or something like that. and they only give me currency. And I can, they give me items as well, but I can buy them at the shop and I can upgrade them later. This means that there's no real need for me to fight enemies ever. And it gives me no real incentive to just go through the level proper. If I need something, I could go back and get this currency. I can't die, I can't lose at all. There's no lives. And I don't need to really do anything. And before I continue, I just want to note that this is a platformer with relatively hidden stuff that you have to go out of your way to find. So that exists as well in the game. It's a little bit more for people who enjoy these things, and it's really cool. It's here. It's in the game. So yeah, those things exist. See, in this level, I found out there's the wormhole which actually finishes the level. I could go through the entire level, pick up all the things, and fight all the enemies and do all the stuff, or I could just, and done. That's it. And you know what? I'm just progressing. If I feel that I can't progress or something like that, I could always just go back, play it again. The amount of things that I have is the same. I have infinite currency. I don't need to kill enemies. I could just keep going. And there's a problem here, okay? When you respawn, it's just you start at the beginning of the level and everything is still there. There's no drawbacks to dying at all. There's no reason for me to stop and stare at the scenery or collect things. The majority of what you do in the game is just not needed. And that's a pretty big issue here. You need to find a reason for every element in the game. And it feels like you wanted to make an RPG platformer, and that's cool. And it stands on its own, and it works, and it's good. But for it to be a really great game, you need to find a reason for every mechanic. Why is there so much currency everywhere? Why are the enemies there? What good reason do I have to actually kill them and stop and stare and walk around? What's the reason for me to do that? And right now there isn't too much. Now, the last thing that we'll talk about, and there's actually a ton more, but I'm already past 12 minutes, which is quite very, very long for my usual videos, so we'll just get through it. This game was actually advertised in the titles, at least, as we have this really cool mechanic. And I expected to have this really cool mechanic, and I was confronted with an RPG platformer. And it stands on its own, but this is an RPG platformer that has a cool mechanic as an afterthought. And not a really cool mechanic, and by the way, the game is an RPG platformer. Both of these work and stand alone. Both of them work on their own, but I got jumbled with the words. But you have to decide which one you want, and I believe it'll be better, and I think it's cooler if you focus more on the mechanic. Note that I went through the entire first level without seeing it, and later on, you have it sometimes within the levels, but it's not really a big part of the game. It's just there sometimes for fun. And I feel it's really good, and it's executed very, very well. So let's actually see what this special mechanic is. This is a delta orb, hold shift and left click to create blocks in the air. So I have this special area only around the special block, and I can simply create stuff from thin air. This is what this thing is for. And I can stand on them. This works very well. It kind of slows down time. Not entirely, but kinda. And it allows me, it feels very, very smooth, so you do just, catch up onto it, and there you go, I died, which also happens sometimes. But it feels very smooth and works very, very well, and that's great, that's a wonderful thing. You can also actually take away blocks that are organic, normal blocks, but they do count as part of the blocks that you're using, so if I'll use them to just create stuff, these will be gone. And this mechanic, clearly you can build on top of it, and do more things later on. You also have red orbs, which not allow you to create anything, even though it's in another delta orb area. And you have moving. These orbs are found on moving platforms, and you can move them around with switches. Progression. There's more. There's a lot to think about as well, and probably a lot that I haven't seen. But this is still a minor little thing instead of being the main part of the game, the main cool mechanic. And also, you have fighting, and it's an RPG platformer. I feel that you have to decide. Both of them will work, but I want to see more of this. I think it's a cool mechanic, and it's executed very, very well. You have a ton of control over it as a designer, and the challenge here is to create interesting levels. And that's clearly a big challenge, but you can do it. I believe in you. So, this is called Last Legacy Null Space. Very long episode today. I apologize for that. There was just so much to talk about. And I believe, I said it previously, polish, more content, I'll pay $5 for this because this is good. This is fun and it's done well, and I love these type of games. I really do. So it's called Last Legacy Null Space one last time. It's by Runow. I hope I read that name correctly. It's Run-O-U-W. And that's it. Thank you so much for sticking around for so long with me on Concept Hunter for today, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.